Hi everyone, I am back with another video, and for this video I will show you the papers I use to make my signatures. On my Instagram account I was asked what papers I use to do my signatures, what I do use, what I don't use. So that's what I'll be showing you in this video. Okay, it's very simple, so should be quick, I hope. My videos are never quick, I'm sorry. But anyway, let's start then. So I am a scrapbooker, so that means I have a lot of scrapbooking paper. And if I have a lot of scrapbooking paper in my drawer, I will use it in a junk journal. If I don't use it in my mini albums or in a layout, I will end up using them in my junk journals. And before I made my chunky journals with all the embellishments, that's all I would use. Let me just show you. That is all I would use, okay? I would use the scrapbook paper with some colored printed paper. Okay, so basically that's all I would use. Now that I'm growing a bit on my junk journals, I use a little bit more than just scrapbook paper and printer paper. So what do I use? When I have the 12 by 12 papers, okay, I either cut them down to size, and I just fold it, so that would be one paper. And I usually like the scrapbook paper because it's so nice and thick. I like the scrapbook paper on the outside of my signature. Okay, just in case you don't know what a signature is, let me see if I can show you that. This is a signature. This junk journal of mine has two signatures. It has this one here, and it has this one. These are what we call signatures, and if you look in almost every book, there are signatures. So let me get my bullet journal. This is my Lochum bullet journal. I don't even know how to say that. So if you look, you will see that these are made with signatures, and you know they are signatures because if you go right in the middle of one of them, you will still find it's bound by thread. Okay, so this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I'll say about 10 signatures. So that's a signature. Your junk journal can have 1 signature, 2 signatures, as many signatures as you want, and as many as they will fit inside your junk journal. So that is one little piece. And then when I don't cut them down, I just like to fold it up and then fold it again to make my book. That will just make what they'll just make a little pocket on one side and a pocket on the other side. Okay, that is cool. So what else do I use? I use color printed paper or white printed paper, you know, the normal printed paper that you use in your printer to print things out. I found these nice pastel colors. It was in a pack of, I don't know how many papers were in there, 200 maybe, and they had all these 4 colors: the cream, the pink, the green, the blue, and that's it. Yeah. So these I just fold in half. Okay, these are already pre-folded. So nothing more to that. And when I use the white paper printer, I use the white paper printer. When I don't have the white paper printer, I use this. This is from a notebook. It was a notebook that I never used. It didn't even have margins. It didn't have lines. So this almost looks like a white printer paper. Okay, so that would be another choice. You could either take apart your notebooks and put them in the junk journals. I also use vellum. I love using vellum. Vellum makes this type of effect on your next page. You can stamp on vellum, you can paint on vellum, you can basically do anything. You can even distress vellum. It looks very nice on. I like using vellum a lot. And then I even use some of these papers. This is from those adult coloring books where, you know, those pictures are very defined, very detailed. And you just tear one of the pages out, fold it in half, and you have a book page, right? Then I also use these, and I love using these. I have loads of these. These are from the Seamstress magazines, where this is the pattern paper. Very, very big one that folds out and folds out and folds out, and there's just these lines and numbers. I don't know how they used to get jackets and pants and skirts out of one of these lines, but they seem to have known what they were doing. So I just cut an A4 size, fold it in half, and stick it in my signature. This one here is from a magazine. It is from Burda, B-U-R-D-A. It's half German, half Portuguese. I know my mother has a whole bunch of them in her attic, and they are half German, half Portuguese. And they have these lovely little patterns here. So this I too fold in half, and that makes my book. It doesn't matter, well, to me it doesn't bother me if my script is going sideways, okay, not straight. It's a junk journal, so I will most probably either put something over it or over some of it, or paint over it, or whitewash over it, something. But it doesn't bother me if it's sideways, even if I do leave it as is in my junk journal. So that's that, and then we will come to these papers. These papers smell like coffee because they have been coffee stained. These ones here, I will talk about these ones first. These are my normal printer papers, well, except for that yellow one. That's my yellow printer paper, which has also been coffee dyed. So all printer paper that has been coffee dyed. I do like using the more heavyweight printer paper. There is, well, in Portugal, there is the 80 grams, there's the 100, or the 90, the 100, the 110, 120. I use the 120 and sometimes the 100 gram weight of paper. I don't know how else you could say that. Just because it's nice and thick, and when I use the 80 gram, I noticed that, can I find it? Where's an 80 gram? I think this one's an 80 gram. But you can, when I do the 80 gram paper, I do it in like a big bowl, a big tray rather. I put my coffee in and I put my water. My water has to be colder than lukewarm or almost cold, and still it has to be very quick when I just put it in there, because I notice that it starts to tear or rather disintegrate almost, but it starts to tear a lot, and I can only do one page at a time. And if I use the 100 or the 120, I can put 2 or 3 in there at the same time. Basically now when I do the 80 gram paper, I just spray it. Because I know it won't break, it won't tear. And well, this one seems to hold up way better than the 80 gram, and it's a nice thickness. So these I would just fold in half, and that would be another element for my signature. And let's talk about these ones. These ones were from, this was also a very large paper thing that my mother, she was going to throw it away. She bought a handbag, and this was in there just to stuffed in the handbag to make the handbag look nice and fat and volume. And she was going to throw it away. It was a nice white color, just like your printer paper. And this was extremely thin. I think this is even thinner than the 70 gram paper, because this was like really, really delicate. What I did with this one is I left it whole. The paper was nice and big, and I went outside. I did a nice pot of coffee, what actually was a cereal bowl of coffee, and I got my paintbrush, a nice big 3-inch paintbrush, and I just dipped it in and I just painted. So this is, I didn't dip the paper in the coffee, I just painted it by hand. I did it outside. I laid on the floor a nice plastic bag and put this over it, and I just painted over the paper with my paintbrush. I let it dry. After it dried, it was still a little bit too whitish. So then I gave it another coat over, another coffee layer, and it came out this color. It was actually quite nice. I let that dry, and then I just, with the paintbrush, I dipped it in the bowl and I just splattered everything. And it did this beautiful markings here. You can see that. It does tear. This was where I had something like a stone, or I think it was actually my son's car. It was just sitting there so that the wind wouldn't blow away because it was a windy afternoon. And it did tear, but I still keep it, or I'll still use it. And it came out with these lovely little markings. And something else I also noticed, and I wish I'd noticed that before, I would have used lace. This was a Lego piece that I had just planked on the paper so that the wind wouldn't move it. And it actually marked the paper. Can you see that? Don't know if you can. There we go. There you can see that was a Lego piece, and I wish I had seen that because then I would have used lace all over the paper. Okay, so that is another thing. And then when it dried completely, I did put my iron over it, my hot iron, and I just pressed it so it would go nice and flat and take out the creases. And because it was very crumpled up, it was in a bag. And then I cut it up in A4 size. Okay, A4 size, and then that's, you just fold it over, and then it's another page for your junk journal. Next, this is, I keep all the, when you, I don't know how you call it, when you make an order and the box comes, and they put these brown paper thingies just so that the box, well, the things in the box, whatever you buy aren't loose and aren't flying all over when it goes through the transporter. So they put papers, and sometimes they even put the blow up balloon baggy things. Some use those balloon thingies, some use this paper, and I save it. This one actually has already it's already cut or pre-cut. Okay, so that's why I did fold it on the pre-cut markings, but it does look like an A4 size, I think. Well, it's just slightly smaller than the A4, but that doesn't bother me. All the pages are not the same, so it's alright. This I will not need to coffee dye. This is already nice and brown. It's a wonderful color, but I bet you if I coffee dye some or just splatter it, it will come out with these nice markings as well. So I use that, and then whenever I need it, I just fold it and cut it. This I would actually not cut. I would fold and then fold again. Let me see. I'll do one for you. Let me just take this out. I keep this because then I stamp on it with like a blue colored stamp, and it will come out like vintagey. Let me see. So I fold it in half. Fold it in half. Okay, and what maybe some people would do is cut it to size. Well, I don't cut it to size. I fold it again. Alright, and fold it wherever. And maybe they can go smaller. And that way I have like a flap on my page. Okay, so I don't need to cut everything, just fold something. Next, I sometimes also use this. Now this I found in my mom's attic. It is a grid paper that she used to use when she did, I have no idea how to call it, but it's that cross stitch thingy, you know, with she used to do these wonderful images, but with cross stitching. Is that how you call it? You know, with this thread and needle. And she would design her picture here, or she would do her design here, so that she would know how many squares to fill in on her tapestry, if it is called a tapestry. I know she also used to do carpets, and with tapestry, those thick ones. And well, she left me a whole bunch, so I'm using that. And this I too would just take out, fold it, and put it in my junk journal. There we go. Next.
Tudo falar inglês.
Tô. Porque ela só entende inglês. I have a little one here, so asking me questions.
Tudo falar inglês porque...
Porque elas entendem inglês.
Quem? A Sandra?
Talvez. So, hello. That was naughty. Oh well. Another thing I like using is ledger paper. Ledger paper does a very cool effect in junk journals. The only problem is it's white. It's too white. It hurts the eye as white. But coffee dye and tea dye are brilliant for these things. And even if I've seen actually a lot of people using watercolors, but not the brown tones, because the brown tones we get from coffee and tea. They actually use blue tones and pink tones and green tones, and it looks so brilliant. It looks very, very, very nice. And I will try that one day. So this you would just, either you would cut one page, all right, you would cut from here, or you would cut the signature. All right, you cut the whole signature. Oh, let me get the whole signature out. Like that. And you would either cut this down to size and either would have 2 book pages, all right, or you would cut this down here and you would fold this part up and you'd have on this part, so you also have 2 book pages right there. So you can go either way. And then let's go to the fun part, books. I use books, and the older the better, or the browner the better. The more tattered the better. That's how I like it. For example, this is too white, but it's quite alright. It's not that bad. What I do like to use mostly is, for example, this book here has no signatures. It's a glued book. Alright. So this book I would really need to just tear one by one page. Alright, I'll tear one by one. Whilst in all the others, I will look for the signature, the middle of the signature, and I will pull that out. And then what I would do, let me just see if I can get a signature here. This is, oops, I just tore that. That's quite alright. That's no problem. He didn't cry. There, almost in the middle. Almost, and it's this one. Okay, so I would just take that signature out, which is a double page. That one there. Now careful, because some of them are really, that thread is really thick and it really cuts in the page, but it still holds up pretty nicely. So that will go in my signature as well. These little book pages here. Now these are a little bit difficult to cut out the signatures and put them in your journal, your junk journal. Oh, well. That was a single page. I'll show you what I mean. So if I cut out or tear out a signature, a single signature from that little one, that little guy, you're gonna fall, keep it down. And if I put it somewhere in here, it will kind of be lost because it will be so small. But let me just mount this very quickly. So what I do is, to mount it is, I do like one by one. I'll alternate with something. So my scrapbooking one will always be on the outside. So let's start. Let's do a brown one. That will go nicely. And then let's do a blue. And then let's do one of these. So this is just putting them together, and let's do a white one like this. And then let's do this one. Let's do this one. Oh, the vellum page I want here. I like putting the vellum one here. This is my vellum page. That effect, I like that. Okay, then this is the white, no, too white. Let's put the other scrapbooking paper here. And it's white. Put some green in here. Put some brown. Oh, it's a book page. Let's put a book page. Now see, even this one's small and this one's even smaller. So let's do a book page. And a white one. Now let's put this one in here and I'll show you what I mean. I don't like this effect, but I will keep it there just to show you. Let's do that. And let's do this one. And the pink one can go here. Okay, so these ones I would either cut or fold. Let's fold them back. And then this one can be folded forward. Okay, so that's my signature. And where's that little guy? So that's the big one, the big book page. And the little guy gets lost somewhere. Where is he? Here. Okay, I don't like that. I think it's just too small to do anything in there. So I don't use it like that. This one I actually cut up page by page. And I use the dictionary page just to embellish maybe a tag or to, well, do something else with it. But I don't usually use so small in here. But of course that is my style. If you like to see that, you're always welcome. It's your junk journal. You'll do it your way, your style, however whatever looks good to you and not to someone else. And then that's it. That's that's all the papers I use. I know some people use magazines. I've seen a lot of junk journals with magazines. I personally don't like using magazines in my junk journals because I like to do vintage things, and I think the magazine doesn't it doesn't look vintage or vintagey enough unless you really have a vintage magazine. I have a few vintage magazines back then. I use those because they are all in black and white or brown and white. They're all in those tones. That I would definitely use, and I can actually show you one. Hold on. Okay, so this is my big red book, and this big red book is a composition of many magazines from the 1885. It was an illustration magazine, Portuguese magazine, which had just illustrations, and for those of you who have been following me on Instagram have seen some of these images. So what I would do here is look for that center signature, or not. For example, I have one here that's already falling, so let me just use this one. This already is quite big. What I would do is just fold it in half. Okay, fold that in half, and this is basically an A4 size, so I would cut that, and then this would go into my junk journal like that. So let's cut that up. No, I have no problem in cutting this up. I know I'm a bad book person. I've said that many times, and I do admit it. I'm sorry. Let's get the ladies out, these kids out. And like that. So that's what I would do. I would use these. Oh, he's heavy. So I would use magazines like this. I would not use because I don't like it personally, but I know a lot of people do use them and they look great. The modern magazines with all those fancy colors. If that's what you're going for, of course you can use it. This is your junk journal, so the one you're making will be your junk journal, no one else's. Let me get that one in there. Okay, so how about that? So that is what I use. For example, the white bothers me quite a lot. If I had my coffee mixture, or when I get to this page in my junk journal, and then I start decorating and I get to a page that is white, I will either spritz it with coffee dye, or I will just use distress ink, or can I just with a brown or something, most probably my vintage photo, or my tea dye, or my burlap something. I can't remember that burlap one. But anyway, a brown tone. I will definitely use a brown tone. But the coffee spray is much easier. It's just with my heat gun, and it'll just dry quickly. And well, that is basically it. All the papers I use. Now, another thing, in scrapbooking, we are very conscious and very careful with using acid-free things. We use acid-free paper, we use acid-free glue, we use acid-free everything. Acid-free, and I think there's a linen-free or something. Why? Because in scrapbooking we use photos, and we don't like our photos going yellow and brown because of the paper or because of the glue. But when it comes to junk journaling, we like that brown. So the browner and the yellower, the better, in my view. So that's why when I junk journal, I am not careful with the acid-free subject. I don't even, I don't care. Because if it does make my pages go brown, well, yay. I even use this awful glue that's, well, awful because it's heavy chemical. I mean, when it has that on it and that on it, you know it's not acid free, and it's potent. It will just make your papers go yellow and brown in like less than 5 years maybe. I don't know what we'll do, but I will see. And we don't want that in scrapbooking, especially when we are using photos. When I scrapbook, I really try to keep all the glues that are not acid-free way far away from my photos. In this case, because, well, I just journal, I don't use many photos in my journal, in my junk journal. I'm not that scared of the acid-free, or things not being acid-free. My travel journal, it's a little different. My travel journal does take photos. I do journal and I do put photos. So there I am a little bit careful, especially with my glues. I don't use this glue. I use my double-sided tapes because I know these are acid-free. And I also use this glue. This is a pen and a glue pen on the side and a glue on the side. It is from I want to say We Are Memory Keepers. No, K & Company. It is from K & Company, and I hope they still sell this because I love this thing. This is what I take on my my trips with me when I travel journal. The pen is acid free, the glue is acid free, and with my travel journal, that is one place that, yes, I try to keep any non-acid free thing away from where I'm going to put my photos. But then again, if it does go yellow, oh well, it goes yellow. It is supposed to be vintage, isn't it? Well, I think I have spoken about everything. If I did miss something, or if you still have some questions, please don't hesitate in leaving me a comment on Instagram, on my YouTube channel, wherever you feel free. Leave me a comment, and well, happy crafting to everyone, and I hope you guys enjoy making your junk journals and make them pretty and brown and yellow and vintagey. I'll be seeing you.